Most people believe that silence is power. They think that by simply cutting off communication, by disappearing into the void, they will create an unbearable sense of loss. But let me tell you a hard truth. Silence alone is not enough. Silence can be endured, it can be rationalized, it can be ignored. When you go silent, at first he may notice. He may wonder where you've gone, why you're not responding, why your presence has suddenly vanished from his world. But if you do nothing beyond this, if you simply retreat without a strategy, his mind will adapt. He will assume that you are waiting, that you are hurting, that in time you will return. And here is the greatest danger. He will grow comfortable in your absence. Think about the countless people who've been left behind, who've been ignored, who've been cut off, only to be forgotten. Do you want to be a passing thought, a fleeting memory that he pushes aside when the next distraction arrives? Because that is what will happen if your silence lacks depth, if it is not accompanied by something far more powerful, transformation. Most make the mistake of believing that withholding attention is enough to make someone suffer. But suffering is not the same as longing. Temporary discomfort is not the same as obsession. If he believes he still holds control, even in your silence, he will not feel your absence in the way you want him to. He may even relish the fact that you are gone, mistaking your retreat for weakness, for submission. If you truly want him to feel it, if you want your absence to haunt him, you must make sure that silence is not an ending, but a beginning of a version of you that he no longer has access to, a version that is stronger, sharper, untouchable. No contact is only the first step. It is what comes after that will leave him restless, searching for you in places you no longer exist. So do not rely on silence alone. Do not think that vanishing will make you unforgettable. If you want to be felt, you must become something so extraordinary that your absence is no longer just noticed, it is regretted. Disappearance without intention is nothing more than a vanishing act, and vanishing acts are easily forgotten. You cannot simply walk away and expect your absence to do the work for you. Distance must be designed, crafted like a masterpiece, leaving behind not just an empty space but an echo that lingers long after you're gone. When you leave without a trace, it creates an initial void. He may feel it, he may even wonder about you, but only for a moment. Human nature is designed to fill gaps. If you do not shape the space you leave behind, he will fill it with his own assumptions, his own distractions, and eventually his own indifference. You must ensure that your absence is not a quiet exit, but a transformation he is forced to witness without ever being able to touch. Most people think that absence is enough to stir emotions, but absence without impact is like a whisper in a storm. It gets lost. To make him feel your absence in his bones, you must orchestrate it with precision. Let him hear about your evolution. Let your name come up in unexpected places. Let whispers of your success reach him in a way that forces him to wonder not just where you are, but who you have become. Do not give him the satisfaction of direct access. No texts, no calls, no desperate attempts to be seen. Let curiosity do the work. People crave what they cannot fully grasp. A mystery is far more powerful than a confrontation. If he can predict you, if he can still see traces of your old self waiting in the shadows, he will not feel your absence as loss. He will see it as a pause, something temporary. You must make it permanent. The version of you he knew must disappear, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, energetically. If you do this right, he will not just feel your absence, he will be haunted by it. The empty space you leave behind should not be something he fills with someone else. It should be a void so profound that no replacement feels sufficient. No distraction can erase it. That is how you make an absence matter. That is how you make sure he feels it, not just in passing, but in every quiet moment when he realizes that what he lost is gone forever. People fear loss, but what truly unsettles them is change, especially the kind that renders them powerless. If you want him to feel your absence, truly feel it, you cannot remain the same person he once knew. The version of you he was comfortable with, the version he thought he understood, must cease to exist. What replaces it must be something unexpected, untouchable, and beyond his reach. Most people walk away hoping time alone will make someone miss them. But time does not create longing, change does. If you stay the same, he can always assume that should he return, things will pick up where they left off. There is no urgency, no fear of loss, no realization that you are slipping beyond his grasp. But when he sees transformation, true, undeniable reinvention, it disrupts that illusion. Suddenly, he is not looking at the person he left behind. He is staring at someone new, someone he can no longer predict or possess. Change is the one thing that forces people to reevaluate their decisions. If he believed you would always be there, unchanged, waiting, he will never feel regret. But if he sees you rising, thriving, becoming something more than he ever imagined, doubt will creep in. Did he underestimate you? Did he lose something rare? Is it already too late? These are the questions that haunt people, the thoughts that make them restless. But here's the key. Transformation must be real. It cannot be a show, a temporary performance designed to lure him back. That is weakness disguised as strength, and it will crumble the moment he tests it. The change must come from within. Elevate your mindset, refine your ambitions, step into a version of yourself that is not just different, but better. Let this shift be so profound that, should he ever cross paths with you again, he sees not a woman he once knew, but a force he never fully grasped. This is what leaves an impression. This is what lingers. When you change at a fundamental level, he does not just feel your absence, he realizes he can never truly have you again. And that, more than silence, more than distance, is what will make him feel your loss in ways he never expected. Nothing haunts the mind more than unfinished stories, unanswered questions, and things just out of reach. If he can easily understand where you are, what you're doing, and how you feel, then he has control, because predictability breeds comfort. But if you control the narrative without giving him direct access, you turn his curiosity into an obsession. People assume that the best way to make someone miss them is through direct confrontation, posting for attention, sending cryptic messages, or making sure he sees their happiness. This is a mistake. When you are too obvious, you remove the mystery. If he can look at your life and immediately piece together the puzzle, he will feel no urgency to figure you out. But if he hears whispers of your success, if mutual acquaintances mention you in ways that suggest something has changed, without giving him full clarity, it will gnaw at him. Human nature is driven by the unknown. If something is easily explained, it is easily dismissed. But when details are missing, when there are gaps in the story, the mind fills them in the most unsettling ways. Let those around you speak of your transformation in passing. Let him stumble upon hints of your reinvention without ever getting the full picture. Perhaps a mutual friend mentions how different you seem, how radiant, how focused, without elaborating. Maybe he sees you in passing, but only for a moment, just long enough to notice something unfamiliar in the way you carry yourself. That uncertainty is what keeps people up at night. The key is subtlety. Do not engage in petty displays or forced happiness meant to prove a point. Real power comes from knowing he is searching for answers and finding none. He will check your social media and see only fragments of your life. Enough to intrigue, but never enough to satisfy. He will ask about you and receive only vague responses that make him wonder if he ever really knew you at all. This is how you control the narrative. You do not force it upon him, you let it reach him naturally through the whispers of others, through the carefully crafted gaps in his knowledge. And in those gaps, in that unshakable uncertainty, he will feel your absence more than he ever expected. The moment he senses that he still has an effect on you, he wins. Whether through anger, sadness, or desperation, if he can provoke any reaction, he knows he still holds space in your mind. That is why most people fail when they attempt to create distance. They think ignoring someone is enough, but they lace their silence with bitterness, with the need to prove something. And that is where they go wrong. Men expect certain reactions. They expect tears, they expect anger, they expect you to either lash out or sulk in silence, waiting for them to return. The predictable response is always the weakest one because it tells him he still matters. But what he doesn't expect, what truly unsettles him, is indifference wrapped in elegance. A response so composed, so brief, and so detached that it leaves him questioning everything. If he reaches out, do not be cold. Do not be cruel. Do not attempt to show him that you no longer care. Just actually no longer care. A simple, polite response that is neither warm nor hostile is far more powerful than any emotional outburst. If you seem too eager to ignore him, too passionate in your avoidance, he will sense the effort behind it. Instead, give him nothing to hold on to. A short, neutral reply, a nod in passing without stopping, a glance, but no lingering gaze. This subtle form of distance is what leaves people restless. It tells him that he no longer has access to your emotions, that his presence or absence does not disrupt your world. It forces him to wonder, has she moved on? Does she think about me at all? And in that wondering, in that confusion, the power shifts. The moment he realizes he no longer affects you is the moment he begins to feel your absence in ways he never expected. Most people believe they need to make a grand statement to be remembered, but true power lies in the quiet, in the ease with which you detach, in the way you carry yourself as though he was never essential to your life. Be gracious, be brief, and above all, be distant. Let him feel the weight of his own insignificance and watch as his certainty begins to unravel. The human mind craves resolution. It seeks closure like a drowning man gasps for air. When something is unfinished, when an answer is just out of reach, it lingers. It gnaws at the edges of consciousness, creeping in during quiet moments, turning certainty into doubt, turning confidence into regret. This is the power of leaving him in a space where he does not know where he stands with you. Most people make the mistake of slamming the door shut. They think blocking, ignoring, or making a final dramatic statement will make them unforgettable. But finality brings relief. It allows the mind to categorize an experience as over and move forward. The key is to leave the door neither fully open nor completely closed. A locked door ends curiosity. An open door gives him access. But a door left slightly ajar, one he cannot quite push through, is what drives him mad. He should never be sure if he could come back, if he still holds a place in your life, if you still think of him at all. There should be just enough distance to make him uncertain, just enough silence to make him question everything. He should hear of you but not from you. He should see glimpses of your life without being invited into it. He should wonder if reaching out would be met with warmth or indifference. This state of uncertainty creates a mental loop he cannot escape. He replays past conversations, searching for signs he missed. He wonders if you have moved on, or if you are simply waiting for him to make the first move. Every unanswered question fuels his thoughts, and in those thoughts, you take up space he never intended to give you. But for this to work, you must resist the urge to clarify. Do not make it easy for him to know where he stands. If he reaches out, do not be overly eager, nor dismissive. Be neutral, be unreadable. Let him interpret your response in 100 different ways, but never confirm a single one. When someone is left unsure, they seek answers, and in that search, in that frustration, in that need to know, he will feel your absence more deeply than any words could ever make him. Nothing unsettles a person more than realizing they no longer matter. Not anger, not hatred, not even rejection. Because all of these still require emotion, still require energy. The true wound is indifference. The moment he sees that his absence did not break you but freed you, that is when the weight of his loss will sink in. Most people seek revenge through confrontation, through proving a point, but the strongest statement is no statement at all. When he finally looks in your direction expecting to find traces of the person he left behind, he should see someone unrecognizable. Someone radiant, thriving, and utterly unbothered by his absence. If he believes you have moved on without a second thought, if he senses that his presence in your life has become irrelevant, it will create an ache that no apology or rekindled interest can soothe. Because nothing is more haunting than realizing that someone you once had no longer even considers you a thought worth entertaining. And that is the real victory. Not making him miss you, but making him realize that you no longer care whether he does or not. That is the loss he will feel forever.